Positivism. Positivism is a philosophy that excludes from investigation all hypotheses that are not empirically verifiable. Since I will be using the word empirical evidence, I think it's important we know what it means. So anything that you can verify or disprove by observation or experiment, that is an empirical evidence. The Positivism movement began in the early 19th century, specifically in the 1830s, with the publication of Auguste Comte's course De Philosophie Positive. Hence, Comte is known as the founder of Positivism. He developed the 3 stages of knowledge, wherein he believes that human thoughts evolves through 1. The theological stage, where explanations are based on religion and supernatural belief. Then we move on to the 2nd stage, that is the metaphysical stage, where abstract philosophical speculation occurs. And the final stage is the positive stage, which is scientific, empirical, and rational explanation of the things around us. He also promoted sociology as a science by strongly supporting scientific methods, experiments, and statistics in social science. Apart from him, another influential positivist thinker was Jeremy Bentham. He gave the idea of the hedonic calculus. In order to measure the morality of actions, he proposed this idea, which was a system to quantify pleasure and pain. Some other influential thinkers include Émile Durkheim in France and Herbert Spencer in England. Let us now look at the historical background of the Positivism movement. What exactly brought the movement forward? What were the events that were going on in England at that particular time that led to the development of the positivist movement? Because this will be quite an important movement which will continue for the next 100 years, starting from 1830s and lasting all the way till 1950s. It all begins in the later 19th century. In the second half of the 19th century, the vast unifying system of thinkers such as Hegel from German idealism, as well as the visions of the Romantics, collapse into a series of one-sided systems such as utilitarianism, positivism, and social Darwinism. To be sure, there were a number of movements that continued the oppositional stance of Romanticism to mainstream bourgeois and Enlightenment ideals. People like Matthew Arnold, Thomas Carlyle, and John Ruskin still stood against the mainstream culture. A tradition of alternative philosophy ran from Schopenhauer through thinkers such as Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, and Bergson. More politically forceful were the various movements of socialism, inspired by Marx and Engels and others. But the values and ideals of the mainstream bourgeois Enlightenment prevailed. In the later 19th century, these values were increasingly attuned to the rapid progress of science and technology. Science effectively displaced religion and theology as the supreme arbiter of knowledge. The institutional demise of religion was intensified by broadly scientific endeavors, like Charles Darwin's Origin of Species that came out in 1859, the rise of German higher criticism which subjected the Gospels to a searching scientific scrutiny, exposing many inconsistencies and contradictions in the Bible. Along with that, David Strauss's The Life of Jesus, which came out in 1835, which saw Christ in terms of a myth rather than fact. As such, the natural sciences became the model and the measure of other disciplines, like sociology. The broadest name of this emulsion of science is positivism, which derives its name from the self-proclaimed positive philosophies of thinkers such as Auguste Comte and Émile Durkheim in France, and Herbert Spencer in England. This movement has certain key features that defines it as a different movement from movements like rationalism or empiricism. Positivism has 2 distinguishing features: that knowledge must be observable, measurable, and based on empirical evidence. It dismisses any claim that cannot be tested or observed, rejecting supernatural, religious, and speculative philosophy. A statement is meaningful only if it can be empirically verified. Positivists argued that society operates under the laws that are very similar to the laws of physics and biology. And that is how Comte came up with the idea of studying sociology as a science. In political terms, Herbert Marcuse has shown how positivism, or positive philosophy, was essentially a conservative reaction against the negative philosophy of Hegel. Because Hegel's entire dialectic has been premised on rejection of the world as given. For Hegel, reality exists as we perceive it. But for the positives, reality exists only if it can be proven empirically. Positivism was not just restricted to literature. It pervaded many domains, like sociology, as I've already discussed, psychology, as shown in Freud's obsession with scientific status of his work, and social thought, as expressed in Social Darwinism of Herbert Spencer. The literary expressions of this movement are realism and naturalism. If you'd like to know more about realism and naturalism, and the literature based on realist and naturalist fiction, then have a look at these lectures.